Looks like an acetone and some hydrogen cyanide combined into fibers of an ethyl methacrylate monomer and bonded with a similar but complex polymer of transparent thermoplastic. It's a tiny piece of a cosmetic fingernail. I wonder, when was the last time Nurse Lou had her nails done?
What do you got in the way of evidence? What if we do this? I'll talk to the nurse, see if she might be willing to come down here voluntarily to answer some questions. Maybe we'll get lucky.
Nurse Lou, we appreciate you coming down here voluntarily to answer some questions.
You're welcome. I don't think there's any more I can tell you, but I'd like to help you if I can. These? Yes, they are. That's odd. Oh, but you know, I did get a nail tip put on my index finger when the real one broke last week. It's been on my hand all week, so I guess I kind of forgot about it. But you can see it's not chipped or anything. I don't know for sure. I do know there's an area down by Lake Merritt where the family keeps their boat, and Mr. Barrett, he likes to go down there when he wants to be by himself. Given what's happened, I wouldn't be surprised if he's there now. Honestly, I can't say I really know Miss Barrett. When she came to visit, she would seem uncomfortable. But seeing someone you love in the condition Miss Marsh was in, well, it's very, very difficult. So I tried not to take anything personally. Mr. Barrett would tell Mary about the boat in the lake and how it was the only real place in the world he could find any peace. He and Mary spent a lot of time together. He would sit there beside her and carry on a conversation as if she were talking right back to him. I wasn't eavesdropping, I just couldn't help but overhear their talks. Or his talking, that is. Mr. Barrett is my employer. He pays me to provide home care for his sister.
Thank you, nurse. We may call you in if more questions come up.
I understand.
That must be our man. Right where Mary's nurse said he'd be. Well, no one will ever accuse you of not being thorough. I'd say you might be overdoing it a little bit, but it never hurts to practice, right? Good idea. We can use the microscope to compare the mold against any prints we find. John Barrett, we're with the Las Vegas Crime Lab.
Okay. Do you think I'm going to need my lawyer?
We're looking into the death of Mary Marst, and we'd like to ask you some questions.
I didn't do it. What else do you need to know? Sister. Mary was my sister. Even though our mothers were different, that didn't matter. And Mary was the only real member of my family I had left. Now she's gone. What the hell are you trying to insinuate? Mary was a fighter. Most people just lose their will to live. Not Mary. She was an inspiration. You know what? That's really none of your business. My opinion? I think you're wasting your time. And mine. My sister's gone, and your investigation isn't going to change that. I'm going to let you in on a little family secret. We have a real problem with authority, unless we're invested in it. So any more questions you have, save them for each one of my lawyers. Yeah, give me a call. We'll grab a drink or something.
It's petroleum oil with a very low ash content. Looks like the type of two-stroke oil you'd use in jet skis. Good job, partner. You prove that pool of motor oil is absolutely a pool of motor oil.
What evidence do you have? I don't see how that's relevant. Based on what evidence? No judge will sign off on that.
The size and the tread patterns match. Our suspect was wearing these shoes. We need to talk to Brass. The size and the tread patterns match. Our suspect was wearing these shoes. We need to talk to Brass.
What evidence do you have? This is good. We can get a warrant to search the kid's room with this. Problem we have now is it's Sunday, which means the judge is indisposed on one of several possible golf courses. I'll have to chase him down to get the warrant to search John Barrett's room. Why don't you head back to the lab? I'll call you when I have it.
You recognize him? This is a statue of St. Ambrose, patron saint of beekeepers. The statue belongs to Beatrice Salazar. At least it belonged to her back in 1982. That dried blood there belonged to her husband, Miami drug lord Humberto Salazar. The theory goes Humberto Salazar fell in love with a beautiful teenage prostitute he plucked off the streets of Mexico City. She got the house, the car, and the drug empire. He got St. Ambrose to the head. At the time, nobody could find any physical evidence to tie Salazar to her husband's murder, but obviously, we've come a long way since 1982. And that's where you guys come in. Salazar's grandstanding when she showed up the other day was just for show. Her DNA has been on file for a while.
What are these white, pasty flecks?
adhesive from an evidence locker sticker. I just need you guys to pull her DNA off this statue. And if you can, that's the ball game. We've got her for murder.
Nice job. Now let's run the sample.
Wait, what's going on?
I'm not sure. Somehow, proteins got denatured, cooked.
They're useless. Son of a bitch. What the hell happened?
It doesn't make any sense. The concentration of sodium lauryl sulfate is way too high. But I was standing right there beside you. I saw you prepared the sample correctly.
Damn it, I can't believe this. I'm taking this statue back into my custody, and I'm going to make a formal request to the deputy director and to your sheriff that an investigation be immediately conducted into the CSI's possible malfeasance. Mr. Stokes, I would suggest you take this matter into your own hands before it brings down this entire lab. Tell me something. Are you just incompetent, or did you just deliberately destroy potential evidence?
I know this sounds crazy, but I think Agent Huntby set us up. I think he deliberately set us up so that we would consume that potential DNA sample in analysis. And he wanted us to take the fall for it. Catherine, we got to get our hands back on that statue. We need to analyze whatever traces on it. And we have to figure out what the hell's going on with Huntby.
Huntby just left the building, and he took the statue with him. I'll notify the FBI field office. See if they can help us. I think Nick is right. And I'll do everything in my power to get that statue back here and have you retested. But until we can get this thing totally resolved, I think it's best for the credibility of the lab if I keep you off any cases pertaining to Beatrice Salazar. I understand you have another case you're handling right now. I recommend the two of you keep working on it. So, walk me through this again.
Okay. We used a moderate concentration of sodium lauryl sulfate to lyse the cell walls.
Okay. Cell walls open up, allowing us to extract the genetic material inside and prepare it for DNA analysis.
Exactly. Except this time, for some reason, there was a much higher concentration of SLS than we normally use. So when the sample was hydrated in preparation for our DNA analysis, the water and the high concentration of SLS produced a chemical reaction that gave off enough heat to raise the temperature of the water way above 80 degrees Celsius.
Which would have denatured the protein and destroyed the viability of the sample. Agent Huntby is claiming you incorrectly prepared the lysing solution by adding too much SLS.
Catherine, with all due respect to Agent Huntby, I was standing right there when it all went down. The solution was prepared correctly. Now, as we were swabbing the sample, I did notice a trace amount of some sort of pasty substance on the back of the statue. So I asked Agent Huntby about it, and he said it was just some glue residue from an identification tag.
You know, you can create a paste with sodium lauryl sulfate, concentrated enough to have that reaction when hydrated.
It's Brass. I finally tracked down the judge and got him to review and sign our search warrant for John Barrett's bedroom. It's a go.
Brass had a hell of a time getting this search warrant. Let's not waste it. Stay sharp. This guy may be rich, but lucky for us, he obviously doesn't pay for a daily maid service. Look what we have here. Cosmetic fingernail, which looks as though it's fallen off and taken a bit of the real nail with it. Parts of the job, right? The man likes his shoes. One of my shoes looks like it hasn't dried. It's fresh. Okay, so this pretty much backs up what Jane Barrett told us. She was home in Los Angeles last night. Pretty solid alibi. You may have something there. Jane comes to visit every Sunday, and every Sunday Mary's morphine usage becomes erratic. The records from Jane's security system indicate there was one Sunday when she stayed home. Now, don't you think it's odd she didn't happen to mention that one Sunday to us? It's also not reflected in Mary's pattern of morphine usage. It doesn't contradict Jane's alibi, but it's definitely worth keeping in mind. Dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. Hopefully, we'll be able to recover some usable DNA. We're lucky, we'll find out if she had a partner. That sample may allow us to positively identify who the nail belongs to. Matching an unknown to an unknown like that doesn't tell us much. Well, hello. It's always the naughty nurse, right? Not only does Pauline Lou have a work card because she's been a dancer at various gentlemen's clubs around town, but she also has an arrest for solicitation on her record. Looks like John and Nurse Lou didn't want us to know about their little relationship. Do you want to tell Brass, or should I? Okay, so not only is Nurse Lou a stripper with a rap sheet, she lied to us about the fake fingernail. Looks like John and Nurse Lou didn't want us to know about their little relationship. Do you want to tell Brass, or should I? So that piece of cosmetic fingernail that we found in the skin of Mary's hand belongs to her nurse. She lied to us. I wish I could say I was surprised. The tread of this shoe is the same size and pattern as the shoe impression we collected from the crime scene. I gotta say, it doesn't look so good for John. The tread of this shoe is the same size and pattern as the shoe impression we collected from the crime scene. I gotta say, it doesn't look so good for John.
What do you got in the way of evidence? Pauline Lou and John Barrett were lovers. Great. So I'd call that motive, wouldn't you? So let me get this straight. John Barrett stands to inherit a fortune. His girlfriend, the nurse, provides him with an alibi, and lucky for her, vice versa. And on top of that, her intimate knowledge of the regulator unit gives the kid a great big opportunity for murder.
Looks like John Barrett doesn't seem too interested in providing an alibi for anyone, including Pauline Lou.
Okay, let's not tip our hand here. If we try and talk to John Barrett first, his lawyers might circle him and the nurse. But if we call the nurse in here first, then maybe she'll be willing to make a deal and give up her boyfriend.
I'm very confused by this situation. I've tried to be very cooperative. Have I done something wrong? Well, like I told you before, I chipped a nail and replaced it with this one I have on. And I've had it on all week. Why are you asking?
Pauline, we found your DNA on a cosmetic fingernail.
That's right. You know what? When I first broke my nail, I put on a different replacement. But I didn't apply it right, so then I put this one on. In fact, I didn't even put this one on. The woman who does my nails did. But I don't see why any of this matters, because that was all like a week ago. Why are you asking me that? I'm a registered nurse, and Mr. Barrett hired me to provide hospice quality care to his sister.
Pauline, I'm going to ask you again. What is your relationship to John Barrett? I think you know why I'm asking. Because according to the semen and vaginal contributions we found on this underwear, you and Mr. Barrett were very intimate. At least on one occasion.
It's true. I love John. We've been together for some time now. I met John not long after his parents passed away. I probably fell in love first. I think he was more interested in being distracted. You see, before I was a nurse, I was a dancer. A stripper, actually. It's not something I'm proud of, but it's not exactly something I'm ashamed of either. It paid my way through nursing school. I'd always dreamed of being a nurse. And it brought me to John. But I never quite had enough confidence, or I don't know. Maybe I just didn't have enough experience to pass my certification tests. John was the only one who ever believed in me. He's the most sensitive, caring man I've ever known.
Pauline, you've been telling us this whole time that you're a registered nurse.
Yeah, well, for all practical purposes, I am. It's just that I don't actually have this certification yet, and I didn't want to get John into trouble for having hired me. Look, I swear to God, that's the only reason I tried to hide our relationship from you. All my life, all I've ever wanted to do is be a nurse and help people. I couldn't bear the thought of being barred from the profession for good because of this.
As Mary's nurse, you definitely had what we like to refer to as opportunity. You following me? Okay, now since you and John had a little thing going on, and he stood to inherit the family fortune if and when Mary died, well, that gives both of you motive. What really complicates things is that you've told us two different stories.
I'll tell you what, Miss Lou. We're all reasonable people. We know you and John are in this thing together. That's why we're prepared to offer you a deal. Testify against Mr. Barrett, and we'll make sure that you do the bare minimum of jail time. What do you say?
No, please, I'm innocent. You've got to talk to John. He'll tell you. We were together all night. I swear to you.
You lied to us, Pauline. Now it's kind of hard just to take you at your word. And since John's not talking, we're really going to need your help to find something to back up your story.
If John knows what's going to happen to me, he'll talk to you. I know he will. He's a very complicated man. Before her accident, Mary gave John a gift. It's a goofy little thing. This little finger puppet. It was like this private joke between the two of them. But then when Mary got hurt, that stupid puppet began to mean the world to John. He would hold it at her bedside and try to make her laugh with it. But last week, the puppet got lost somehow. I'd been cleaning up and I must have misplaced it, but John went ballistic. I mean, you'd have thought I'd run over his dog. Anyway, day before yesterday, I found the damn puppet. I was thrilled. I went down to the lake, down by where they keep the boat. and I was gonna surprise John with it, but before I could say anything, he started screaming at me. And that's when I threw that stupid puppet away. For good. Well, not exactly for good. I tried throwing the damn thing in the lake, but instead I ended up tossing it into the family's boat. Okay, this is the crazy part, and the whole reason I'm telling you this. I think if John gets that puppet back, then he might be able to open up to you guys. He's missing Mary so much. He just needs to have a piece of her back, and then he'll open up and tell you everything you need to know. I'm sure of it.
That's all for now. Thank you. Okay, here's that little puppet Pauline was talking about. It's ridiculous. I mean, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it's just really hard to believe this would mean so much to Mary's brother. Looks like John's come out of hiding.
Oh, God. Where did you get this?
We understand it has a lot of sentimental value for you.
It does. It may seem silly to you, but it means a lot to me. Thanks. This finger puppet, this dumb, ugly little finger puppet, is proof I killed my sister. She gave it to me just before the accident. And then afterwards, I'd put it on her finger. She'd make me laugh. It disappeared a week ago, right after I made Mary promise me she'd keep living. For me. Because I could tell in her eyes she wanted to give up. She was tired. I couldn't let her go. When I thought I'd lost this puppet, it suddenly occurred to me that instead of convincing Mary to stay with me, I'd actually pushed her into leaving. I killed her. Someone else may have helped her, carry it out, but it's really my fault.
John, I don't understand something, and I don't mean to be insensitive, but how would you know what Mary was thinking? She couldn't speak. She could hardly move. How were you communicating with her?
We both knew Morse code. We'd tap into each other's palms. It's almost like how Helen Keller used to communicate.
Mary knew Morse code.
Yeah. For laughs, she'd tap out the things that bothered her on the regulator button because she knew it would cut off after a certain point. She complained about blisters and cramps. Jane.
Jane?
Yeah. Mary told me every Sunday at some point she'd get so bored when Jane came over that she'd spell her name out with the regulator button. It's like the finger puppet. Stupid, but funny. I really miss her.
We need to get back to the lab. and review those regulator records. I think we may have overlooked our best witness. So here's what's bugging me. Every time Jane comes to visit, Mary all of a sudden has this wildly unpredictable pattern of morphine dosing. And I just couldn't put my finger on what was gnawing at me. What could Mary possibly be thinking? And then it hit me. If you were to take Mary's erratic pattern and filter it through the computer as a Morse code pattern, did you see Mary's final message right before she died? JAYN. Morse code has been in use for over 160 years. It only ceased to be an international standard for maritime communication in 1999. And for some reason, I remember when the French Navy ceased using Morse code in 97. The final message transmitted was, "Calling all. This is our last cry for our eternal silence." Let's go talk to Brass.
Based on what evidence? I mean, this isn't exactly a smoking gun. Jane Barrett may have had opportunity, but as far as we can tell, she hasn't got a motive. Now, our little John and Nurse Lou, they have motive. I'll see what I can do, but now that John's more willing to cooperate, why don't we talk to him and see if he lets something slip?
Look, officers, this is a really terrible time for me right now. I'm sorry for lashing out at you. I realize you're just doing your job. I lied to you about one thing. If someone did this to Mary, I want to know who. I'll help you in any way I can. Ask me whatever questions you need. I could talk about Mary all day if you wanted me to. That Pauline wasn't actually a registered nurse? Yeah, Mary knew. She didn't have a problem with it. She liked Pauline a lot. She also knew how I felt about her. I think Mary probably thought I could do better than an ex-stripper, but she was happy that I was happy. Everyone knew we were a couple, including Jane. I love Pauline, and I know she would never do anything to hurt Mary. And even if Mary had wanted Pauline to help end her life, even if Pauline had found some way to communicate with Mary about that, she would have come to me first. Whatever you think you have on Pauline, I'm telling you, you're wrong. Pauline doesn't know Morse code. How could Mary have asked her? I know you probably think I'm blinded by love or something, but Pauline couldn't have been the one who ended Mary's life. Pauline and I were home all night. We got back around 10, and then we basically crashed in our room till morning. It's not really much of an alibi, right? Nobody saw us, nobody called us, but it's the truth. I understand you have to ask me that question, but it still hurts. And the answer is still no, I did not kill Mary.
You see, John, the problem is, absent you having an alibi we can confirm, the evidence we have right now suggests that you had both opportunity and motive in your sister's death.
What evidence?
Well, for one thing, we found a shoe impression beside your sister's bed. It was left in fresh mud. We were able to match that impression to the shoes we found in your bedroom, the ones which still had caked mud on them.
Wait a minute. Think about it. If I was really going to kill Mary, why the hell would I track mud all over the house and leave my shoe print where you guys can find it and match it right back to me?
You ever hear the expression consciousness of guilt? It means deep down, you might have subconsciously felt guilty for doing what you did.
I didn't do what you think I did. The thing is, I have another pair of shoes just like those. I keep them on the boat. Somebody else could have used them. Somebody who wanted to make it look like I did it. Now, the weird thing is, I keep those shoes in a locked cabinet. But here's the key. Go check it out. Jane. My sister and I don't exactly get along anymore, but between the two of us, I'm the one capable of murder, not her. Jane didn't like Mary. She didn't trust her. But then after the accident, Jane tried really hard to make things right between them. No, Pauline and I were there all day. We never saw her.
Do you lock the front door?
No, we don't. I guess it's possible Jane could have come in without us seeing her. Anything's possible, right?
Same size and brand of shoe with mud on them, right where John told us they'd be. Okay, now the trick is to distinguish one pair of muddy shoes from the other. Good catch. That's a very fine strand of hair. Appearances can be so deceiving, can't they? That's Jane Barrett's hair. You know what? That crime scene was staged. We need to talk to Brass. shoe impressions we collected at the crime scene match the treads of the shoes we recovered from the boat. These are the shoes the killer wore. The shoe impressions we collected at the crime scene match the treads of the shoes we recovered from the boat. These are the shoes the killer wore.
What do you got in the way of evidence? The DNA evidence puts Jane Barrett right at the crime scene. I'll get your warrant.
I don't understand. Why am I being brought in like this? I told you before I was at home in Los Angeles.
Miss Barrett, we found your DNA at a location which ties you to Mary's murder.
That's not possible. I gave you my home security system records. I wasn't even in Las Vegas. I was home. This has to be some kind of mistake. Didn't you check with the security company?
That's exactly what we did, Miss Barrett.
You, and everyone we talked to, mentioned how you would always pay Mary a visit every Sunday. But when we reviewed your home security records, we noticed one Sunday when your system listed you as home all day.
I have an explanation. That is,
May we see your phone, Miss Barrett?
I'm going to get a search warrant for your home in Los Angeles, Miss Barrett. I'm going to have LAPD turn over the place and tell me exactly what they find.
May I save you the trouble, Captain? You won't find anything there. You have no case. Just because I wasn't home doesn't mean I murdered my stepsister. That's actually quite a remarkable leap of imagination. And I would guess those don't usually play very well in front of a jury.
I just heard back from the LAPD. They searched Jane Barrett's Lost Hills residence from top to bottom. Found nothing. Look, maybe Jane didn't want to risk traveling around with incriminating evidence on her, so she stashed it around here somewhere. All I'm saying is, it's worth looking into.
The smudge wasn't on her phone earlier. It's not sticky, it's viscous, like oil.
Ah, yes, the ultrasound device. It's impressive, but it's also expensive. Let's just be sure we really need it before we start wasting valuable resources. I'm not going to waste valuable resources on a gut feeling, okay?
It's petroleum oil with a very low ash content. Looks like the type of two-stroke oil you'd use in jet skis. The chemical impurities in both oil samples match, which means we can put Jane at the lake very recently, but why would she go down there? Unless maybe she was trying to hide something from us. I think we're going to need something to search below ground as well as above.
Ah, yes, the ultrasound device. It's impressive, but it's also expensive. Let's just be sure we really need it before we start wasting valuable resources. This evidence places Jane Barrett in proximity to that pool of motor oil. Okay. I'll get you that ultrasound device. Let's see if we can find out why she was there.
So this is what Jane was trying to hide. A hammer. She buried the hammer right on top of a wrench, which looks as though it's been down there for a while. Looks like some kind of softer metal got embedded in the pitting on the hammerhead. These particles are bronze, and they're a perfect match to the bronze that the bust is made out of. The bronze particles didn't come off by smashing the regulator. Someone deliberately shaved them off and planted them. So our killer wanted us to make the connection to the bust and wanted to make sure we found those muddy footprints right by it. And he or she assumed that if we did, our focus would turn to John and Pauline. These particles are bronze, and they're a perfect match to the bronze that the bust is made out of. The bronze particles didn't come off by smashing the regulator. Someone deliberately shaved them off and planted them. So our killer wanted us to make the connection to the bust and wanted to make sure we found those muddy footprints right by it. And he or she assumed that if we did, our focus would turn to John and Pauline. Jane Barrett's fingerprint is on the hammer used to smash the regulator. I'd really like to hear what Jane Barrett has to say.
You didn't find anything, did you? I tried to save you the trouble. So is that it, officers? You'll never really know, will you?
Here's your fingerprint. We found it on the hammer you buried by the lake.
The same hammer you used to knock off a piece of that bust. The one you planted with the broken regulator.
I'm just curious, Jane. Why the bust of Mary's father? Did you resent the Marst family that much?
I hated them. Hated them for stealing my family from me. You know, when my parents died in that oh-so-tragic skiing accident, it made me start believing that there was the possibility of justice in this world. Like God had answered my prayers and punished them for abandoning me. But then Mary took over the company. She was just a stupid little party girl, and there was nothing I could do about it. But as soon as Mary resigned, that very night, I was ready. God really does help those who help themselves. Mary survived her accident, which upset me. Why was God punishing me? But I planned to try again, and that's when I bought that application for my phone so I would be able to create an alibi. But you know, I realized I could just watch Mary die, bit by bit. It was then that I completely understood God's plan for me. I wasn't being punished. I was being rewarded. And then one day, I found John standing over Mary, crying and begging her not to die because she was the only family he had left. But I'm his real sister. That very day, I snuck into John's room to find something that would lead you to him and his naughty nurse. I took a chip of her fingernail from the trash in his room. Then yesterday, I used my phone to make it look like I was home. Then I drove to Vegas. It only takes about 4 hours. In the right car, that is. I went down to the family boat, put on my gloves, got John's muddy shoes, and drove to the chalet. I waited for my brother and his whore to go to his room, and then I snuck in. I put on the shoes and took the bronze bust from the front room. As soon as she saw me, Mary started panicking, pushing her regulator button over and over and over. Do you need some help with that, Mary? I cracked open Mary's regulator with the bust, then used the hammer to chip off a bit of it. That part was for you guys to find. Then, and this was the best part, I put the broken regulator in Mary's hands and I forced her to push the button. I looked into her terrified eyes to watch the morphine melt her soul away. And then, she almost wrecked it. She looked at me, and she smiled at me. She was trying to trick me, make me think she was glad to die. Like this was what she'd wanted all along, as if God was freeing her, not me. After she was dead, I planted that tiny bit of the fake fingernail on her hand. I replaced the bust, returned the shoes to the boat, and buried the hammer. Then I drove home. I got back just in time to catch my flight.
You might be right, Jane. Mary may have been happy to finally be released of her burden. Or maybe she was smiling because she'd been able to spell out most of your name on her regulator right before she passed. I think she was smiling because she knew you weren't going to get away with murder.
Well, we'll never know for sure now, will we?
I do know one thing for sure, Miss Barrett. You may have been neglected by your family, but we're going to be paying a lot of attention to you now. Probably for the next 25 years to life.
Very good work, you two. A confession is always a nice bonus in a case like this one.
Technically, 2 confessions. One for last night's murder and another for last year's attempted murder.
You keeping score, Nikki?
I just think my partner here deserves full credit for chalking up 2 scores. And I think it should go a long way towards breaking up that cloud hanging over the team because of Huntby.
You let me worry about Huntby.
I'm telling you, Catherine, he's dirty.
Good night, Nikki.